Google just spent $4.75 billion on something most AI headlines ignore. Not a new model, not a robot, not a secret chip. Electricity. On December 22nd, 2025, Alphabet announced a deal to acquire Intersect, a company that builds the energy and data center infrastructure that makes AI possible. Cash plus assumed debt. Intersect stays as its own brand, same CEO, same mission, but now it's effectively inside Google's engine room, and that tells you one uncomfortable truth. The AI race is turning into a power race. Because we've been talking about intelligence like it's purely software. Bigger models, better reasoning, more agents, more automation, but all of that runs on data centers. And data centers run on the grid. And the grid is not an infinite resource that you can scale with a new data set. So why would Alphabet buy Intersect? Because more compute isn't just a money problem anymore. It's a physical infrastructure problem. Think of the new AI economy like a factory boom. In the old world, you built factories near roads, ports, and labor. In the AI world, you build AI factories near power and transmission. If you don't have the electricity, you don't have the product. Intersect's entire job is to solve that problem. Bring energy generation, storage, and data center projects together in a way that can scale fast. Alphabet's announcement is pretty blunt about the intent. They want more data center capacity and more power generation capacity coming online faster, ideally in lockstep. Translation: we don't want to wait. Because waiting is what grids force you to do. Here's the part most people don't understand. Even if you have money, you can't just plug a massive data center into the grid tomorrow. There are interconnection queues, permits, transmission constraints, local politics, long lead times for transformers and high-voltage equipment, and a shortage of everything from skilled labor to specialized components. So the bottleneck becomes time, and time becomes strategy. If you're Google and you think AI is going to define the next decade, you don't want to be in line behind everyone else. Begging utilities for megawatts. You want the pipeline, you want the team, you want the projects already in motion. That's what this acquisition is really buying. Reuters reported that Intersect has around $15 billion of assets either operating or under construction, and that projects representing roughly 10.8 gigawatts of power could be online or in development by 2028. Even if you ignore the exact number, the signal is obvious. This is not a nice to have. This is industrial scale planning. Now, there's an important detail in Alphabet's own release. Intersect's existing operating assets in Texas and its operating and in-development assets in California are not part of the acquisition. So what is Google actually buying? The development engine, the team, the in-development and under-construction projects linked to Google's needs, and the capability to build future co-located sites, meaning data centers built right next to the energy infrastructure that powers them. Alphabet even mentions a first announced co-located data center and power site under construction in Haskell County, Texas. That's the new playbook. Not data center here, power plant somewhere else. But power and compute as one integrated system. Why does that matter? Because once AI becomes a national competitiveness issue, the companies that control compute will want to control supply chains, and electricity is the supply chain. This is where the story gets bigger than Google. Big tech has already been signing giant power purchase agreements for years, especially for renewables. But buying the energy development machine is a different level. It's vertical integration. And once one of the biggest players does it, you should expect others to copy the move in their own way. More partnerships with utilities, more direct funding of generation, more co-location, more long-duration storage, more "we'll build it ourselves" energy strategies. Alphabet's announcement also highlights a set of emerging technologies they want Intersect to explore. Advanced geothermal, long-duration energy storage, and gas with carbon capture. Notice the pattern. They're not betting on one magic solution. They're stacking options, because the demand curve is rising fast and the grid isn't built for sudden, explosive load growth. Now here's the part that will matter to everyone else, not just investors. Data centers don't land in empty space. They land in communities, and there's already backlash. AP has been reporting that residents in some areas are looking at rising electricity bills and blaming the expansion of massive data centers, these AI factories, for shifting costs onto regular ratepayers. Whether that's always fair or perfectly measurable doesn't matter politically. What matters is perception. People see big tech building gigantic infrastructure, and they don't want to pay for it. Alphabet's investor release tries to preempt this by saying the goal is to unlock reliable, affordable energy supply without passing costs to grid customers. That line is doing a lot of work, because if AI becomes the thing that raises electricity costs, you will get regulation. You will get permitting fights, you will get local resistance, and you will get politicians treating data centers like a public issue, not a private business plan. So Google's move is both defensive and offensive. Offensive, because it secures a pipeline of power and infrastructure. Defensive, because it reduces the risk of being throttled by grid constraints, supply shortages, and politics. And if you're a smaller AI company, this is the nightmare scenario. Not because Google wins with a better model, but because Google wins by controlling what the model needs to exist. This is how industries consolidate. The platform players capture the critical bottleneck, and everyone else rents access. That's why this is a mind edge story. It's not Google buys company, it's AI hits reality. We've been living in the era where AI progress feels like software magic, but the next stage looks a lot more like old-school industrial strategy. Power, land, permitting, construction, supply chains, and politics. So, what should you watch next? First, timelines. Alphabet says the deal is expected to close in the first half of 2026, subject to the usual conditions. Second, copycats. If you start seeing similar moves from other hyperscalers, acquisitions, not just partnerships, that's the confirmation signal that power has become the core constraint. Third, the grid response. Utilities, regulators, and communities are going to push back, negotiate, or adapt. Expect more debates around who pays for upgrades, how fast approvals can move, and whether data centers should be treated like special industrial loads. And finally, the technical shift. Co-located compute and generation isn't just a financing trick. It changes engineering decisions, how you design redundancy, how you handle storage, how you manage peak load, how you plan expansion. That can quietly become a competitive advantage, because reliability and scale matter when your product is always on AI services. So yes, this deal matters. It's one of the clearest signs that the AI era is moving out of the demo phase and into the infrastructure phase. The next time someone tells you the AI race is only about the smartest model, remember this. The smartest model is useless if you can't power it. If you want more breakdowns like this, the moves under the headlines, subscribe. And in the next video, we're going one level deeper. How AI factories are reshaping the power grid and why electricity prices might become the next big AI battleground.